Listen, if your business feels really unpredictable, like in 1 month you have a really great month and a ton of clients, and then another 2 or 3 months, it's nothing. I'm here to tell you now, I know you're not lazy. The fact of the matter is you just don't have solid systems in place. So in this video, I want to break down my three-phase framework for helping you, a service provider, go from really bad, really inconsistent months, a ton of chaos, to a lot more confidence and a lot more consistency. Let's be honest here. See, most founders, they rely too heavily on referrals or spending all their time spinning their wheels just posting content on social media, just hoping and praying that they're going to have one solid month and then hopefully try to repeat the exact same month the following. But see, here's the thing. That's exactly what it is. It's hoping. It's hoping that you're going to have a consistent business and not actually building a solid, scalable business model. You see, at the end of the day, I know that we in fact need leads. We need to bring them in on a daily basis because we need to be able to turn those leads into appointments and eventually turn those appointments, into actual paid clients. And the reality is, I know you're busy. I'm busy. And if we continue to try to grind this out on our own ourselves, we're eventually going to hit a point of burnout. So we effectively need to build a system, a machine that will allow us to show up even when we decide to clock out for a day or for a week or even for a month. So here it is. I'm going to break down in detail our predictable client acquisition system. And I'm here to tell you now that this works. It's been deployed over hundreds of different service providers. And the reason is pretty simple. It's because we're doing things in the correct order. If we try solving problems out of sequence, at the end of the day, it's the same as not solving the problem at all. So let's break it down. Let me show you how this all works. Now, the promise of this system, it's real simple. Three things. We want to deliver leads daily. We want to book appointments weekly. And we want to make sure that we're closing clients monthly. Now, in order for us to be able to do this, we first need to tackle the three big roadblocks as to why most founders aren't able to achieve this. The first one being no funnel. The second being no follow-up. And big number three, it's really having no long game. All right, first let's tackle big problem number one, which is no funnel. And the way that we're going to solve that, it's real simple. We need to create the system, the machine, the mechanism that will generate us 100+ leads every single month. Now, how exactly do we do that? Well, step one, real simple. We first need to identify a niche, and we need to align that niche with you and your brand. Now, quick side note here. When I talk about niching, I'm not talking about niching horizontally. I'm not talking about the different industries that you could potentially target. But more specifically, what I'm talking about is niching vertically. You see, we found that it's a lot easier to acquire clients when you actually know what level of business or stage of business that they're in and target the main problems and pain points that they're currently experiencing at that level. That's the sweet spot. That's the secret spot to actually getting niching to work in your favor. Oh, and one other quick side note that I want to mention here. Whenever I say niching, usually a lot of people, when they hear niche, their ears default to, I'm going to be married to a particular industry. And I'm not saying to do that. What I'm saying is when we niche, we talk about dating an industry, maybe for like 60 to 90 days to see how feasible it is for us to actually dedicate to ourselves to mastering that industry. So don't think that you're only going to be serving one type of client. Just know that we want to pick an industry where we can maybe focus our efforts in for a little bit of time, see if we can actually figure it out, find product market fit, and then continue to dive in, or if it's not working, pivot. All right. Now that we've identified the niche, the next step is that we need to create what are called the magic pills. All right. It's a really fancy term for saying lead magnets. All right. So if you're not familiar with what a lead magnet is, let me explain it. A lead magnet is no more than a simple one-page document, usually comes in the form of like a checklist or a guide, but it's usually a PDF, but it's designed to solve an immediate problem or pain point for our niche. And as I mentioned earlier, if you really understand niches and you understand that there's different pains at different levels of business, it becomes very easy to identify a lead magnet or a magic painkiller that they can swallow to make them feel better. And then from there, we move to the last step, which is we need to create the system where we can be out there marketing ourselves without actually having to market ourselves, without actually having to record videos every day and post content on social media. By the way, if you aren't familiar with my channel yet and how I approach things, I'm not really the most keen on social media. I break down a whole video about why using paid advertising is a lot more effective than social media. I'm going to leave that video up here, up, up here, yeah, up there. All right, but that means brings me to the last step of this first initial phase, which is we actually need to create the campaigns and then launch the ads. We found that using the Meta platform does provide us with the cheapest cost per lead and the cost per acquisition. But at the end of the day, you just have to pick a platform and you have to launch. Now, once this is done and you have the basic idea of who we're targeting, how we're going to provide immediate value, and we have a machine to show up around them and in front of them, then we essentially have effectively built a machine, a mechanism that can give us 100+ leads every single month, if not more. And I'll tell you right now, what we found is just by implementing this simple funnel strategy, you're going to be able to get your lead costs down from, maybe $3 to $5. But I will say it does vary between different industries and different businesses. But what we found is we're able to get lead costs anywhere from $3 to $5. And at that point, getting to 100 leads becomes very, very cheap and very, very efficient, which then moves us to solving big problem number 2, which is no follow-up. Now that we have leads coming in, the next step is we need to get these leads to ROI as quickly as possible. And the way that we do that, it's real simple. We're going to target them 3 ways. We're going to surround these leads. The way that we're going to do that is by number 1, we're going to hit them by their phone. Now, the strategy for this, it's really, really simple. We need to set up and clean up a CRM, make it so it's manageable, because once we start bringing in all these leads, it's going to be very hard to try to keep track of them. So we need to clean up the CRM and make sure that it's easy for us to use on a regular basis. Number 2 is we need to set up a basic dashboard to track the numbers, because what gets measured gets improved. And if we're not measuring anything, then all of our decisions are gut decisions, which is not the right way to be running a business. So we need to start tracking the data. And 3, and most importantly, we need to call the leads. Like, let's just be real here. Most founders, most service providers, I don't know what's going on with them mentally, with the imposter syndrome or whatever it might be, but many of them are just scared to call the leads. But at the end of the day, the fastest and easiest way to actually get your next client is to just call the leads. So our recommendation, what we do around here is we don't just call them once, we call them up to 10 times over the time span of a month. And the purpose of it is really simple. We need to have a conversation so we can get an appointment booked. And from that appointment, we can qualify them, or you can qualify them, and then turn them into an actual client. But calling them is not the only way we're going to be able to book appointments. The next way we're going to be able to book appointments is by text message. Now, there's this basic concept. It's called speed to lead. And the basic idea behind it is that when a lead comes in, they're usually red hot, but they go cold almost immediately. I'd say usually within 5 seconds of that lead opting into your world. So if that's the case, if we know that data point, then it would behoove us to try to get in front of them as quickly as possible. And honestly, we're not sitting around waiting for leads to come in just so we can pick up the phone and dial. So we need to figure out a more strategic way of doing this. And the way that we do that, real simple. Text messages. Let's set up a simple text message automation where when a lead opts into your world, we'll be automatically able to contact them within 30 seconds of us receiving that lead, through one of our advertisements. And from that, one of the things that we like to do too is also provide a little bit of a script, but it's also a very good idea to have a structured script to know exactly what to say so that you can easily and systematically get that conversation and lead it into a quick 15-minute call. All right. And the last piece of this no follow-up system is that we need to target them via email. Now, our process for this, it's real simple. The idea behind it is that most leads are not red hot. They're probably pretty lukewarm, and we want to warm them up. So it's an email drip sequence. It's 8 emails over 14 days. And the way that it works is real simple. We know that there are common objections or common thoughts or negative conversations that are happening inside of this prospect's mind. So what we want to do is we want to bring it up to the forefront. If we can talk about and describe and provide solutions for some of the problems, and we can articulate it better than our leads can, well, hey, guess what? It ends up inevitably leading them to trust us more. And the other piece of this is that bingers are buyers. If we can get them to read our content and give us our principles and beliefs and our points of view, it aligns us with them a heck of a lot more, and it gets them to raise their hand. But let me let you in on a little bit of a secret. What we like doing is within 4 of the 8 emails that are going to be dripped on this prospect, we actually like adding videos, like a simple video, really explaining thought process, a common problem to these brand new leads and prospects. Because if they can see our face and they can really understand what we're talking about, and we can get them to consume a couple videos of us talking about Their problems that they're specifically facing, well, hey, guess what? Bingers are buyers. And that's going to be one of the fastest ways to get that lead to inevitably raise their hand and say, hey, I kind of need some help. But effectively, what we are creating here is no more than what I like to call an appointment engine. A very systematic process for being able to deploy a strategy to get more appointments booked on your calendar on a weekly basis. All right, now that we've figured out how to get leads into our pipeline on a daily basis and get appointments booked on our calendar pretty much on a weekly basis, the next step is that we need to play the long game, because let's be honest here, about 80 to 90% of the leads that we acquire are usually not going to be now buyers. They're not going to be people that are going to convert within the first, 30, 60, or 90 days. Many of them take years to convert. They just need to have and see constant reinforcement from you. And eventually that not now buyer will eventually become a now buyer. We just want to make sure that we stay top of mind with them so that, when the time comes, they'll be thinking of us. And the way that we do that, it's real simple. What we want to build out is what is called a lifetime nurture sequence. Now, let me explain to you exactly how this works. And it starts with this thesis that we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. If you think about any really, really successful business owner, entrepreneur, founder, let's think about like the Gary V's, the Tony Robbins, the Grant Cardones of the world. They've gotten really good at doing one thing exceptionally well, which is learning how to say the exact same thing for, at this point, decades now. We want to use that simple philosophy and strategy and apply it to essentially a lifetime nurture sequence, a long-term play that will keep us top of mind and keep us solving problems for our ideal niche, our ideal candidates, our ideal avatar. And the way that this works, it's just really based off of an understanding of our calendar year. Really, really simple math. All right, so the plan here, it's real simple. There are 3 months for every quarter. There's 4 quarters in the year. So let's call this month 1. This is month 2. And this is month 3. Now, within any given month, there's typically 4 weeks. So the idea is real simple. Let's theme out a common core problem that our prospect is facing for each one of the weeks of this quarter. So month 1, week 1 will be problem 1. Week 2 will be problem 2. Week 3 will be problem 3. Week 4 will be problem 4. And then on month 2, all we do is just repeat it. We learn how to say the exact same thing a different way. So week 2 is problem 1. Month 2, week 1 is problem 1. Month 2, week 2 is problem 2. Month 2, week 3 is problem 3, and so on and so forth. And the same thing happens for week 3. All right. Now that we have a basic idea of, what we're talking about every single week for an entire quarter, for an entire 12 weeks, then the next step is that we need to create the assets that really solve the main pain points and problems for our ideal candidates, for our niche. And the way that we do that, it's real simple. Number 1 is we write emails to tell stories. We create content like in the form of videos, and we provide more lead magnets. Because at the end of the day, if you're constantly reinforcing solutions, hey, guess what? This lead, this prospect will eventually see you as the authority because they've been consuming so much of your stuff for so long that eventually they're going to be like, gosh, I really need to work with you. And a quick side note here, and we can have some real talk for a minute. You see, authority is not built over one message, one email, one YouTube video. Authority is built over time. And the more frequently that you show up in a person's world, the greater authority you create in their mind. So when we're able to constantly reinforce how we're solving their problem, hey, guess what? We're just positioning ourselves more and more and more as a bigger authority figure to them. Hey, but I digress. Anyways, back to this. Now that we've created a quarter's worth of content, the playbook is real simple. We need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. So let's just take the information that we created in that first quarter, and then we repeat it for the second quarter, then repeat it for the third quarter, and then we repeat it for the fourth quarter. We create the system where at the end of the day, we can cycle through the content after every single month. Because again, some real talk here. Listen, most people don't remember what you said yesterday, much less remember what you said 12 weeks ago. So let's use that to our advantage. And if we do this correctly, we've effectively and efficiently created a lifetime nurture sequence that, in fact, drips valuable content to our leads and prospects essentially 365 days out of the year. All right, just to quickly recap. Three core problems that a lot of service provider founders face with regards to an ebbs and flow chaotic business. Number one is that we're dealing with no funnel. Number two, we're dealing with no follow up. And number three, we're dealing with no long game, no way to stay on top of mind with our leads and prospects. So the way that we solve that, real simple, we create the system. Phase one, which is to create a machine that brings in 100 plus leads every single month. Phase two, which is our appointment engine. And then phase three, which is our lifetime nurture sequence. All right, now you know exactly what to do, when to do it, how to do it, essentially how to build a scalable process so it's no longer you really worrying about a feast or a famine month. Because listen, at the end of the day, business should not be emotional. And this is how we create a system that scales. Now, you have my entire playbook, but if you have absolutely no desire to actually figure out how to do every single one of these pieces yourself, don't worry about it. It's actually what we do, and it's what we're really, really good at, and we can get this up to running really, really quick. So if you're interested in getting some help and you want someone to do this all for you, then in the description below this video, I'm going to leave a quick link to a 15-minute brainstorm session. Just want to unpack what you got going on in the business, see if we can help you out. If we can't, don't worry about it. We'll be happy to point you to someone that can. But if we can't help you out, we can talk about what that looks like. Anyway, I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. I hope you found a ton of value in it. And if you want to consume some more cool little tidbits, tricks, and content, make sure you hit the subscribe button and maybe check out this video here.